Hey, Patrick,
Yes.
I was just wondering if you could hear me. Did you want, will you say, when you want me to say something, will you, just say, Lisa, we'll have a comment, or, will they say in the meeting when the comments are supposed to start, or?
Yeah, the commissioners will let us know when they'll want comment from
Oh,
folks. And so on Zoom, I will call those participating when
okay. Okay, so I'm just gonna mute myself until, I just wanted to make sure you can hear me okay. Um, and then I'll just go ahead and mute myself until the meeting starts.
great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Okay, looks like we're ready to go. Sorry for being a tad late for those of you that are online. This is Pat O'Connell. I'm the chair of the New Mexico Public Regulation Commission. And we're convening a public comment session with the design of it to be accepting public comments in PNM's grid modernization application. Just for a little bit of background for what we're doing is, PNM applied for various grid modernizing elements under the state law about 2 years ago. We had the case proceeded. We had a hearing. The commission ordered PNM to go back and provide some more information on cost benefit so that we'd be in a better position to judge the case under the law, which requires approving things that are reasonable. So PNM did that, and now we're on the eve of a second hearing in this case, and that will be to look at the supplemental extra information that PNM has provided. As part of the first process to get to the first hearing, we've already had a public comment session in this case. It was well attended and comments were well made and received by the commission because there was some new information provided, and we're proceeding with a second hearing. Felt like it was in best interest of the public to have another public comment session also. So that's why we're here today. It's my understanding, well, and then just a reminder, and this is true for all public comments, is that it's valuable for you to provide your comment. I personally find it valuable to hear your public comment. So thank you for coming to provide that comment. It is also not part of the legal record under which the commission must make its decision. So just so you know, it's not evidence on the record. And then I know that we've got quite a few people registered to provide comment on Zoom. I think Mr. Rodriguez has been managing that list. I'm seeing that there are some folks here in person, so welcome to provide public comment in person. I think what we'll do is we'll start with folks who have registered on Zoom and go for about 20 minutes on that, and then flip it over to the folks that are here in the room. So in order to facilitate that process, Jennifer and my technical assistant, McLee, I think are working on developing a sign-in sheet so that we can take the public comment from the folks who are here in person in an orderly fashion. Does that work for you, Mr. Rodriguez, since we didn't talk about this beforehand?
Yes, Mr. Chair, that works just fine.
Okay, so then before we proceed with comments, because we have so many folks lined up to provide public comment, as we've done in other public comment sessions, we're going to ask that you confine yourself to 3 minutes in your public comment. And so we'll be enforcing that as needed. And then before we launch into it, I'll ask my attorney from OGC's office, is there anything I have neglected to mention here before we get started?
No, sir, I believe that's it. There was one kind of more specific issue I'd already mentioned to Commissioner Aguilera, that there are a few pro se interveners in the docket that I've checked the list and their names aren't signed up to provide public comment, but if for some reason they appear, I ask that they not be allowed to provide public comment, as they do have party status and it is a due process concern.
Great, thank you for that clarification. I think the folks who are pro se members of the case will understand that instruction, but just again, it goes to the point that this isn't evidence. There are interveners in this case, and they are submitting evidence, and they will participate in the hearing. So that's their avenue to get their comments and argument known. So we're not excluding anybody from participation here. There's just two separate lanes is what it boils down to. And that's a legal requirement and distinction. Commissioner Aguilera, Commissioner Ellison, do you have anything you wanted to add before we?
I just look forward to hearing all of the comments and glad that it seems like we have a lot of participation. So thank you all for coming and for signing on.
Go back to taking comments on too. Your mic was on. Oh, my mic was off. So Mr. Rodriguez, please take it away. Mike, for those of you on Zoom, I was encouraging the people in the room to sign up in the sign up. So.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chair. And for those who are on Zoom, I put instructions in the chat. Once you are finished speaking, providing comment, please log out of Zoom and watch the rest of the public comment hearing on our YouTube channel. And again, the instructions are in the chat. And first, I have Jennifer Robbins. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and Commission. My name is Jennifer Robbins, and I'm a resident and longtime educator here in New Mexico, as well as a PNM customer, wife, and daughter. And I'm speaking today because I want the Commission to know that smart meters benefit the utility, but not the consumer. PNM's cost-benefit analysis should be rejected by this Commission, as it ignores the potential high costs to human health and the environment, instead seeking utilities benefit from returns on capital expenditures and reduced operational costs. PNM CBA does not consider the long-term consequences of installed smart meters transforming customer homes into weaponized radiating RF antennas. Had this been deemed relevant, calculations on the increase in diabetes, heart attacks, strokes, cancer, birth defects, sterility, MS, Alzheimer's, autism, ADHD, sleep disorders, depression, anxiety, electrohypersensitivity, and suicides caused by this radiation would have been included. Additionally, the CBA would include projected estimates on the total monetary costs for management or mitigating treatment of these. PNM likewise did not feel the need to analyze what the long-term effects of AMI radiation will be to plant and animal life, environmentally, or in relation to the effects this will in turn have on the food supply. PNM CBA neglects to include cost estimates for property damage that smart meter fires can cause, instead overstating customer savings from these components. It underplays that a low-income household wishing to opt out of smart meters will actually spend an additional $400 annually and punitively on their existing energy bill. Not to mention the cost of job losses to New Mexico when human meter readers and crews are replaced by the remote technology that PNM's grid modernization components will bring. The CBA also leaves out the cost to customers for personal data protection after there are security breaches, or costs to be incurred when hackers intentionally target smart meters to destabilize the electric grid, which is a real potential as noted by the IEEE in IEEE Access. I will leave the Commission with the following. By the end of 2022, there were over 124 million smart meters, and these were installed in 78% of US households. But less than 3% of these smart meters fulfilled the 2009 promises that customer savings were going to be incurred. This was from the Mission Data Coalition. So thank you.
Thank you.
Marshall Hurst, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm very grateful to be able to make comments to the commission here. I regret I can't stay long. I have work today. It's in the middle of a work day for many of us. I just want to say I am a nurse. I've been a nurse for many, many years. And the key thing I want to say is that there's so much to say that regarding taking care of the public, and the reason why so many of us are opposing the smart meters, it's just too much to ask for us to do. This would be volumes of information written. What I ask you as a nurse, remember the public considers nurses nationwide when they've done surveys to be extremely trustworthy because we're not in it. We're not in healthcare. We're not doing things for money. Our nature, our heart is called to this profession to care and to look out for the public welfare and health. So I just ask, I'm not providing you with a load of scientific comments. I'm sorry, I'm a working person and I'm overwhelmed just trying to survive. I do not support, and I wish for you to not allow for smart meters to be brought into New Mexico. And the reason why is go back, please, and listen to the comments that were provided last year in great depth by so many people. There were MDs, there were PhD psychiatrists, psychologists, so many intelligent scientists. I'm just asking, please take that to heart. Please understand that there's business interests on the side of PNM. You know, it's a for-profit business. And what we hear over and over and over again is that things are pushed through for the public that people don't want, or a very small part of the public wants at times because they want the convenience of smart and fast and efficient. But what they end up finding is, and we look at the cancer rates are exploding. And all of the science of modern man is still not figuring out why. And yet people who are making basic observations on nature and human health, insomnia, I myself am incredibly sensitive to the electromagnetic fields and all of that. So I didn't start my timer, I apologize. So the summary of what I'm wanting to say is there is so much information we as a collective group have already provided, a small slice of people who are available, who were even signed up by email to find out about these public comment periods. Please take it to heart. We're speaking I'm speaking, especially as a nurse, and so many other people are speaking for the health and welfare and the long-term well-being of people and the children and the unborn children who are so sensitive to these kinds of electronic fields. They're microwave fields. Okay, so I'm saying it in a very lay person. I'm not being my scientific mind. I'm just too tired to do that today. But please and thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your comment.
All right, Susan, Ellen Bogan, go ahead.
Hi, thank you for this opportunity to provide these comments in objection to PNM's cost-benefit analysis. I'm a homeowner and a customer of PNM in Santa Fe, and I'm objecting to PNM's cost-benefit analysis because it fails to adequately address the following issues. Number one is the possibility of hacking into the smart meters, which could lead to blackouts, which has not been adequately addressed. Number two is the possibility of fires and the costs associated with those fires caused by overheating of the smart meters. And associated with that is a lack of engineering analysis for the electrical safety of connecting the smart meters to existing electric hookups. The next is the failure to adequately address the possibility of interference, which could lead to overbilling. And then also the failure to adequately address the health issues that others have spoken about related to the 24/7 pulsing wireless signals, which has been listed as a possible carcinogen. There's also the failure to address the higher cost to the consumer, which will lead to higher bills. And there is also a failure to adequately analyze the cost for what could be premature obsolescence of the smart meters, which has happened in other locations. Finally, I would say that I have not found any legislation in New Mexico that would allow us to opt out of the smart meter program. I've lived here for 5 years. Before this, I lived in California, where I did opt out of smart meters. And it cost me $5 a month in order to do that, but it was important enough for me to make those payments to opt out. So I would strongly object to PNM pursuing a smart meter program in New Mexico at all, but especially without an opt-out program. Thank you. Those are my comments.
Thank you for your comment.
Nicholas Robbins, go ahead.
Greetings and thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Nicholas Robbins. I have a PhD in political science and have taught college courses in American government, constitutional law, and political theory at Brooklyn College, Clarkson University, and Johnson C. Smith University. I've lived in Albuquerque since 2018. I urge the Commission to reject PNM's cost-benefit analysis due to PNM's egregious failure to account for the many negative externalities that will result from their smart grid installation. PNM applies a narrow accounting calculus that does not come anywhere close to corporate responsibility in accounting and public service. In particular, it does not account for many harmful effects from radio frequency radiation to the health of New Mexicans and to the environment, which will result in large economic burdens and losses for people, business, and government. Authorities and experts have known for quite some time that RF radiation harms the human body and environment. For example, a declassified Defense Intelligence Agency report from March 1976 titled Biological Effect of Electromagnetic Radiation reviews harmful effects upon the blood, the cardiovascular system, the cells, the glands, the digestive system, the central nervous system, metabolism, and reproduction, amongst other areas of effect. So I ask, what about the cost from treating disease in these areas of the body? Barry Trower, a British physicist who was a microwave weapons specialist for the Royal Navy, has stated that no amount of radiation is safe. In his view, it is especially unconscionable to expose young girls and women to RF radiation, as it can alter and degrade their mitochondrial DNA, which will be passed on to all future generations. So I ask, what about the costs in reproductive health care? Arthur Furstenberg, in his book, The Invisible Rainbow, has detailed how the outbreak of mass disease in animals and humans is precisely correlated with the introduction of new RF technologies. And in his newsletter for years, he has shown the ever-increasing destruction of plants, insects, and animals by RF installations around the world. He has documented the damage done by smart meters to trees located near them, as well as the harms experienced by many people who sleep near their devices. Many of these harms will be quantifiable in terms of, for example, increased healthcare costs, decreased productivity, lost crops, and sick livestock, but many harms will not be quantifiable. What price tag would PNM put on degrading the environment and robbing future generations of its natural splendor? One can argue that an adult individual has the right to decide if they want to subject themselves to harmful actions or substances. However, no one has the right to subject others, including children, all other life forms, and the planetary ecosystem, to a pervasive, invasive, and destructive form of radiation. The costs of such an act are far too great and outweigh any supposed benefits. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Dora Walton, go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to the commission. I just want to make sure everybody can hear me. I lived in Santa Fe for over 9 years, and I testified publicly in 2020. Prior to that, I lived in Maryland, where they did have an installation of smart meters. One reason I moved and left and moved to New Mexico, and the first thing I asked when I moved in 2013 was, did they have them? I am a PhD in natural health. I also have a doctor of naturopathy, and I'm just one dissertation short of Doctor of Divinity. I have health concerns for people emotionally, spiritually, as well as physically. Number one, when I testified in 2020, I stated, and there was presented evidence. These are also considered surveillance techniques, devices. PNM has offered nothing, and none of the utility companies I've seen have offered anything when people brought forth these comments about the invasion of our privacy and how anything you use is monitored for the few minutes, seconds, or whatever. That's number one. Number two, I really do have, because I saw firsthand with my clients the negative impacts of the EMF when smart meters were installed. One woman literally had to move out of her home because the smart meters were installed on an apartment building, 12 meters on a wall, outside wall, next to her house. The detrimental effects of that, and that is what I actually tracked for 2 years before it was just obvious that was the only impact, the only change in her life is when those meters were installed, not on her house at that time, but on an apartment building, number one. PNM, no utility company that I have researched since I've been doing this has provided any kind of evidence about the cost of the detrimental effect to the health, not just of humans, of animal, plants, just like Mr. Hurst said in the preceding speaker. They have provided no evidence. It's all for monetary capitalistic gain with no, impact, no studies that have shown any positive effects of these meters other than money, money, money going to the utility company. Number three, and this I will conclude with this because I know we only had 3 minutes. I agree with the other speaker. There is no opt-out option, which is horrendous for this particular state. At least when I lived in Maryland, there was an opt-out option, but you still had to write an 8x10 letter and affix it to your meter, which I did before I sold the house and moved to Santa Fe. But here, I've not seen this, and we've had enough public testimony here, enough public hearings for PNM to be responsible, and I see it that as irresponsible for the number of years they have had this initiative and no opt-out at all. I don't care what it would cost me, I would still pay it. I think it's unconscionable that we keep moving forward. There's evidence. I'll give just one name. He has many, many studies. Dr. Klinghardt, Klinghardt, has evidenced the effects of EMFs, not just cell phones, everything, but on the smart meters. But I'm only here to talk about the smart meters today, so I don't accept this. I will not have this shoved down my throat, the public's, anybody else, for adults, children. I don't care if you're a senior. There's a negative impact across the board, in addition to it being a surveillance technique and process. So thank you. I will always come against this, and every time, and I now live in Albuquerque, every time PNM brings this up, I will find a way to testify against it for the betterment of our health, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment.
Mary Ellen Underwood, go ahead.
Hello, it's a hard act to follow. Everyone who has spoken is really speaking for me. And some of us have been speaking out for a very long time. Back in 2017, when we defeated PNM's proposal, a large group of citizens from Silver City organized, and the commissioner in that area knew that thousands of people were behind it. And when people were educated, and that's where I got my basic information, people, they understand, do not want smart meters. I reiterated what Reverend Dara Walton also said, the smart meter option is critical. And this system isn't broken. Our analog meters are working fine. And of course, we're going to be paying more. And there is not one thing that benefits all the consumers in New Mexico. I was in marketing, and the smart catchword has tricked a lot of people. If you look at the definition of smart, it means fast thinking, efficient, witty. I don't know anybody that's really hooked up to multiple radiation, smart, everything in their house. P&M recently said we could look into their thermostat. That means we are going to be wired. I don't have an interest in that. I don't have a microwave. Most people aren't educated, and as many people have said, I am very concerned about the children, born and unborn. A 250-pound man or woman may be able to tolerate a smart meter. A baby, an embryo, absolutely not. I don't think we want to risk having this toxic overload on the citizens of New Mexico. Those comments from the people that testified from out of state last year were sobering. Don't let this happen to New Mexico. Thank you very much for all of you who are testifying today.
Yeah, thank you for your comment.
All right, well, Glenn, Michael, go ahead.
Good, thank you. My name is Glenn Keuchel, and I'm going to also tell my personal story, and that is my family and I moved here from Colorado, and smart meters had been installed on our on the home before we moved in, and my wife started getting heart palpitations, and I got tinnitus. If you're familiar with what tinnitus is, it's ringing of the ears. It gets pretty severe. Well, as we did some investigating, we realized that a smart meter had been installed on our bedroom wall on the outside, and our headboard was against that same back wall. We had to, fortunately, Colorado had an opt-out possibility, so we opted out and had an analog meter put on. The tinnitus cleared up with me, and my heart palpitations also cleared up. Since that time, my wife and I actually formed a company to go into people's homes with very expensive meters and reduce their EMF load on their bodies. And in every single case, it's helped them with their sleep and with headaches and things of this nature. EMF is a real problem, and I know that the same companies that protected the smoking industry for 40 years, they denied that smoking could cause the ill effects that it did. And these PR companies are now working for the same tech companies to deny the studies that have been done. Over 3,000 studies have been done showing the harmful effects of EMF, and yet these PR companies can deny that on behalf of the tech companies. So I just want to say there are harmful effects. About 3% of the population experiences those headaches, palpitations, heart issues, because we are an electrical system. And I strongly oppose putting smart meters here in New Mexico. That's one of the reasons why we moved here. And if you do it, we may be one of the families that has to leave New Mexico. Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to speak.
Thank you for your comment.
All right, I'll have Gerald Curtis go ahead and speak. Gerald, would you please unmute?
I do apologize. I know better than that. Thank you for taking giving everybody the opportunity for a public comment. I'm not going to take time to regurgitate what has been said better than I would say before me, except to say that I've been educated as a chemist. I have a scientific background, and therefore, when I read with interest and carefully as I did, the document produced by James W. Shield of Black and VH Management Consulting, I must say I was impressed with how one-sided it was. That unfortunately gives excellent testimony to the interest that PNM has in presenting a balanced picture. We live in Bosque Farms. We voted with our feet as we left Edgewood, where the PRC has no control over the way smart meters are being used in that facility up there by that electrical commission. When we got down here to Bosque Farms, we found we were having to tolerate a digital meter, not as bad as a quote smart meter, but the switching mode power supply within it, which didn't have to be there. It was there because it is cheaper technology, caused me to spend $2,000 on a very effective filter to get rid of the dirty electricity. As I read this report from Black and VH, it's too one-sided. PNM should be ashamed of the fact that they cannot present for debate a balanced picture. If you have a need to make a position, give us the pros and cons. Let the chips fall where they may. Do not spend a lot of money to bring in a consultant who bows to your wishes and says things you want to say, and then rather than call a spade, instead of saying smart meters, talks about advanced metering. In conclusion of this report, the monetized benefits identified in the CBA flow directly to customers, benefit society in general through lower carbon emissions, and reduce the need for O&M and capital investments by PNM. To try to say it nicely, this is definitely a crock. And the PRC, I hope, will recognize the fact that if they listen to what one consultant says and do not listen to what the rest of us say, as users that know what the technology is causing trouble with us, then they unfortunately are as misinformed as PNM tries to do to its customers. I support all of the comments that has said ahead of me. I could not have said them better. I support them. I do not need to repeat them. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you for your public comment. And then just a reminder, we've got a lot of folks here who would like the opportunity to speak. And so if you confine yourself to the 3 minutes, that will be to the benefit of all. So thank you. I guess we've got like 2 more on Zoom and then we'll do 10 from the room. So seeing McLee saying he's got a list ready to go. So Mr. Rodriguez, 2 more on Zoom.
Sure. Lisa Alvarez, go ahead.
Thank you for letting me comment today. My name is Lisa Alvarez. I'm a master's prepared nurse from Duke University School of Nursing. I've been a registered nurse for 30 years and everyone has commented very well previously for me, so I'm just going to make mine short and sweet. I have been a New Mexico resident for we're almost 20 years now. And I lived previously on Jefferson Street and lived there for 6 years. And my bill was only $50 a month. And then I had moved to Silver Avenue right down the road. This is in Albuquerque for the people that are in Santa Fe. And I moved right down the street from TNM on Silver Avenue and have lived here for 3 years. And my bill has shot up from $75 to $120, and I am in a one-bedroom apartment. And I am concerned that the increase of the bill is due to the digitization of service and for this grid modernization. And I believe everybody's already spoken on the health hazards that we have, radiation, cancer causing. The main thing I'm really concerned with smart meters is hackers that can hack into your system. And then we have fraud due to overbilling from the hackers hacking into your, smart temperature thing in your apartment, and then your smart reader out, meter out that's outside. And so, to make a long story short, I'm opposed to the smart readers and the grid modernization. And thank you very much for letting me speak today, Patrick.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Next speaker.
Yes, Andrew Stone, go ahead.
Good afternoon, commissioners. I'm Andrew Stone of the New Mexico People's Energy Cooperative, which works for a speedy and equitable energy transition. Now, AMI is just one tool to understanding grid modernization, but we also need investment in grid enhancing technologies, which can reduce the need for transmission and distribution upgrades. However, the anonymized data procured via AMI should be kept open source, so solar developers and energy efficiency companies, as well as MNERD, can use the insights gained to help those with the highest energy burden. Given the length of time for T&D upgrades, including long procurement times for equipment, I would like to inquire how the Commission will be addressing FERC 2222 by developing tariffs for virtual power plants, which are networks of linked battery storage that is dispatchable by the utilities to perform peak shaving, frequency regulation, and other grid services. Now, Google, the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, and many others have declared that VPPs represent the fastest and most equitable way to create a resilient modern grid. Equitable because homeowners and businesses can participate in these networks, such as Green Mountain Power of Vermont has done with their Bring Your Own Battery or Buy One on Your Bill program. Now, PNM has demonstrated leadership in these wire alternatives, so-called grid edge technologies, at both Kirtland Air Force Base and Mesa del Sol, in conjunction with Block Energy, to provide their own ratepayer-based VPPs, which I commend. But we also need a way for ratepayers to monetize their battery storage. This would solve several problems as we anticipate huge load growth from AI server farms, EVs, and home electrification, including long lead times and expensive costs for transmission and distribution upgrades to meet the new loads. Ratepayers have been unable to interconnect their own solar on distribution circuits that are closed due to overproduction of solar during the day that these batteries would solve. And they would perform peak shavings of load by having these network batteries be utility dispatchable. Please consider developing a pilot program that allows ratepayers to either bring their own battery and, if income qualified, receive a battery via grant, or allow pay-as-you-save, which is on-bill purchase of the batteries. that can be dispatched by the utilities. Thank you and have a good day.
Yeah, thank you. Then as we set up this meeting, we've got quite a few people registered on Zoom. We also have quite a few people here in the room. So just try to alternate between the two. We're going to switch over and take the next comments from the room. So if you've showed up and you have yet to sign up on this sheet, please do. I'm sure we've got more than 10 to get started.
So the first three coming up, and apologies if I'm saying your last name wrong, Brian Milliken, then Rosalie DeRyan, then Ann Mattingly.
Brian's first.
So hello, my name is Brian Milliken, and I'm a systemic psychotherapist, 27 years in practice. I like to observe things. And so I've observed, I'll give you a few things that I've observed. One thing I've observed is I love the show Better Call Saul. You like that show, Better Call Saul, New Mexico Proud, you know? And on that show, Better Call Saul, Saul Goodman had a brother. His name's Chuck. And Chuck had a problem. And Chuck's problem was electromagnetic sensitivity. And they showed on that show that Chuck, his problem was mainly psychological. It wasn't true that the electromagnetic stuff had any effect on him at all. And that's the media. So I observed the media kind of saying, this is just psychological. This is something just not true. It's not real, man. So that's media. So I observed that. And then I also observed documentaries. So I got interested. I observed documentaries and they're talking all around the world about, electromagnetic sensitivities and smart meters, cell towers, all these kinds of things that people are really sensitive to. And they presented research. And like I said, I like to observe and research. So I go online and I check out the research because I don't just believe anybody, what they're going to be telling me. I'm going to do the work myself. So I go and I look at these studies and whatnot, and sure enough, there's some very valuable, it's up to like 10,000 studies on this being harmful. It's like, wow, that's interesting. Some people say, well, there aren't any studies. We're still trying to figure this out. It's like, not in my observation, there wasn't. So then the third thing is that even here today, I'm observing. I'm sitting back there and I'm observing. I'm like going, wow, this is interesting. Not one person in the public is for this. Like, what? That's interesting. So PNM, so it looks like it's PNM against the public. That's interesting. So then I observed you guys' website with that. Like I said, I love to observe. And I looked at your mission statement. It starts first three words is ensuring safe operations. Well, that's interesting. You're all to ensure safe operations. Cool. All right. Sounds good. And values and principles. The first value and principle I find on there is public interest. That's interesting. Cool. So now we hear in the public, we're hearing all these people talk and whatnot, and I'm thinking this is slam dunk. I'm like, wow, that's really cool. So then I guess I'll be still observing when I get out of here and whatnot about what you guys decide what to do. Because are you for the public interest? And are you for ensuring safe operations? So cool. I'll be watching. And one last thing I want to say is that the benefit. What is the benefit of this? What is the benefit, man? So I'm thinking nowadays, I grew up in the 70s, 80s. I was smart nothing back then. So I don't know why this is beeping. Maybe my time's up. Anyway, so I just want to wrap up and say I appreciate you hearing us all out, and I'll be watching. I'll be observing. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
So next up is Rosalie DeRyan. Yeah, Rosalie DeRyan.
Hi. So I'm going to keep this short. A lot of people have said, I don't want to echo what everyone else has said. What do smart meters provide for the public? Is there a problem with what is in place now that necessitates a change? Alternatively, what are the potential hazards, drawbacks, and problems of installing smart meters? Luckily, we have the benefit of knowing from other states what the issues have been. There's rate increases in billing discrepancies, random explosions and fires on houses, security and hacking concerns, and high opt-out fees that discriminate against poorer residents. And the big hushed one, biological health effects. Here are some of that my family experienced in Oregon in 2009 when a smart meter was placed on our home. My son had constant buzzing in his ears. He would come up to me several times a day and tell me his ears were buzzing. So tinnitus. My baby stopped sleeping well. My husband had migraine headaches. I had a combination of these plus itchy skin. So how can we say that smart meters are or will be safe and reliable? And will this be in the public's interest? Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, my name is Annie Mattingly. I'm a writer and a retired from university teaching. I'm a homeowner in Santa Fe. Although this all makes me so nervous, I'm not sure that I will continue to be if this happens. I have a very personal connection to this subject. 20 years ago, I became incredibly sensitive to electromagnetic fields, and I'm doing okay with it now, so as long as I'm careful. But if a smart meter goes, from what I hear about smart feeders and what I know about them, if a smart meter goes in the back of my house, I may not be able to live there anymore. My daughter had that happen to her, and this was about 6 years ago. She is now 63, and she's not all right. She's never been all right since then. So it can have a very personal and life-changing effect. And I hear all the things that people have said. I don't know about that stuff. I know about what's happened to me, what might happen to me, and what's happened to my daughter. And I hope that this is taken seriously and reconsidered. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next three up will be Spencer Floyd, then Rachel Hart, then Jim Desjardins.
Thank you for this opportunity. I appreciate that. I'm not going to go through all of the well-stated health-related issues associated with this, but there are some areas that I suspect P&M has not examined relating to the accessibility of access from hackers, or even use by P&M themselves of the data that this system would provide access to. Our experience in the wider world of corporations is that they, for their own purposes or for the purposes of selling it to others, have found ways to circumvent whatever protections. I have no idea how, whether they've even given any examination of this particular aspect, but I feel that it does offer an enormous opportunity to go into information or access that they should have no access to. So basically, my concern is how P&M themselves would use this information that gives us, that they would have access to. Thank you very much.
My name is Rachel Hart, and I live in Albuquerque. And I was talking to somebody who lives in Washington, D.C. about a month and a half ago, and she said that they did the Grid Modernization Act in Washington. She said her electric bill was usually $200 a month. And as soon as they put that smart meter on, it went to half her mortgage payment. So who is going to be the person that's going to benefit from allowing smart meters into our homes? Only PNM and those invested in their stock. We've defeated PNM before in the past. Arthur Furstenberg was allowed to address health and environment issues, but for some reason, he is being denied that. Lloyd's of London refuses to insure smart meters. They don't want to take the risk. Do you want to take that risk? To make it personal, I'm EMF sensitive, and I've had all those symptoms everybody's already talked about. The worst one was almost passing out. And I found it was happening around electrical equipment. So I went ahead, I got a book, How to Reduce Your Exposure to EMFs. And so I don't have a smartphone, I don't have a phone, no cell phone. I do not live within cell phone towers. 1/4 mile away from cell phone towers, you're more likely to get cancer. I was going to a senior center, and there was a big cell phone tower up with big discs. And I looked at that and I thought, I better be careful about how long I stay here. And as I'm walking in, I hear some people walking out saying, oh, did you know what happened to Mary? She passed out in the senior center. They took her to the hospital and they couldn't figure out what's wrong with her because America does not recognize EMF sensitivity. Canada does. And they protect their people. So I reduced my exposure and I no longer almost pass out. The heart palpitations have gone away. The dagger-like pains in the head go away. I still have tendinitis. The rash, that's gone away. I fear for my state of well-being physically if smart meters are allowed in Albuquerque. I might have to live in a car. I gave up a car over 10 years ago because of climate change. And as far as I understand, because I read the PNM literature, they were offering a $25. You can not have a smart meter if you pay them $25. Personally, I've never gone into a grocery store and been charged for something I do not buy or use. To me, it's like extortion from the mafia. So, looking at my notes here. Okay, you've heard it all. I said my piece. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chairman O'Connell, Commissioners Aguilera, Commissioner Ellison. My name is Jim Desjardins. I'm the Executive Director of the Renewable Energy Industries Association of New Mexico. A lot of folks know us by the acronym REIA or REIA-NM. My comments today are not meant to be specifically in a support or opposition to the docket 22-00058-UT, which is PNM's application for grid modernization. The mission of REIA is to support, promote, and advance the transition to renewable energy in New Mexico. And on that note, the Inflation Reduction Act is in the process of pumping in $369 billion into the renewable energy economy in the United States. As a result, solar installs are expected to triple by 2030. Customer-owned energy stores to increase by 10-fold, and the amount of electric vehicles on the road to increase from 3 million to 27 million, all of this by 2030. This is going to require a tremendous increase and an upgrade to the largest and most complex known machine to man the US electrical grid. Part of this will require grid modernization, and this will include advanced meter infrastructure, also known as smart meters. This will allow us to do a lot of things, gathering data, having interactive solar systems. And I might add that we're well behind the rest of the United States in this implementation. And I am unaware of any third-party objective data that actually spells out any health concerns for this type of implementation. So RIA is in support of the implementation of advanced meter infrastructure. And I do want to just kind of piggyback off of another person's comments that we would like or suggest that this information be available in a way that it could be most beneficial to everyone involved in this space. Thank you very much.
So the last three on this list is Elizabeth West, then John McPhee, then Isabel Baldazor. If anybody else wants to sign up, I have the list right here.
That'll get us through our group of 10 in person. So after we get to the end of the current list, we'll go back to Zoom. And if you're here and you haven't had a chance yet, please get with Meckley. So
I want to see myself on the TV. Oh, here we go. All right. My name's Elizabeth West. I live in Santa Fe. I'm a retired librarian. You know what librarians do. They love to look up things and then they love to change their mind and present new ideas. And I'm originally from Massachusetts, so I was looking at something titled Good Things Come to Those Who Wait. Massachusetts is set to be a national example with AMI 2.0, and you probably read about that. And they're pretty excited about two things. One, the the setup for all of this smart stuff. And great. But I also noticed that they were stressing how terrific it was that they waited a while, because earlier, a few years ago, when they first wanted to set it up, the smart stuff wasn't so smart. They weren't so smart about it. And so they're congratulating themselves on waiting. Therefore, I was thinking, maybe that's something we should do here. Meanwhile, I don't know how high the opt-out fees are going to be, but before I continue on that line, it's true that PNM is going to allow us to opt out, correct? Just a nod or something for some of you.
That's part of what's yet to be decided.
Yes, well, that has to be decided in the positive, and I'm willing to pay quite a bit to opt out. However, I have some electric gadgets in my house, and I have some friends, family members and so on who are upset about, I'll be 80 this year and on All Saints Day, just in case you're curious. And they, well, you're vibrant, you're energetic, you're wonderful, but you have a lot of stuff going on in your house. And I said, hey, it's a pentile brick house, which doesn't work terribly well for the environment, but it's kind of as a buffer for many other things that are called smart. So I had gotten a new electric stove, and these people came in exchange for a really good lunch that I made for them. And it took about 3 hours. They took out the little smart thing that was approximately, I don't know, 1.5 inches long. Took a while to find it. It's hidden in the stove someplace, but the stove is working fine, and I can't turn it on with my cell phone. Actually, I don't have a cell phone, but it isn't smart anymore. And so I feel as if we're on the same page, my stove and me. I do like the idea of what Vermont is trying to do. I have friends who live there, and I like the idea of some coordination that I think PNM is considering and you guys are considering about helping us get our own batteries. And somebody mentioned the idea of assistance with paying off that, very much the way you do with a, you know, a computer stuff. The reason I don't have a cell phone is somebody said, well, don't you like being social? And then she said, but you are so social. Why don't you have a cell phone? I said, because I'm social. So I feel that way a little bit about AMI and about the smart meter stuff. As long as I can opt out, I'll be vaguely interested to see what happens. Last couple of things I want to say is I want to recommend a terrific movie with a very eccentric woman in it who when I first saw the movie, it's called Merchants of Doubt. I can't recommend it more highly. You probably can find it on YouTube, and it's just so eccentric. It's wonderful. Merchants of Doubt. It's a good movie about fooling the public by showing doubt. If you don't quite know, then you can do something. And the woman who I found, I just tell you, extremely eccentric. I will wrap it up, but it's too much fun. You'll enjoy it. It's really fun. And she now is a top professor at Harvard. So I thought, oh, she goes from being eccentric to being rewarded. I really want to underline that I will support a business that will help me get away from this if you don't provide opting out. It's very important. And my name's Elizabeth West. You can find me in the phone book. Please, I want to be aware of those next steps. Thank you so much. Okay.
That's why we're enforcing.
A lot of smart people. No.
I'm John McPhee, retired consumer product safety state designee. Spent 23 years in that capacity. Spent really the first half of my career on chemical regulations, and revising that was in public schools particularly. And really the last half of my career, almost more than half of the time, on radio electromagnetic smog, and the issues that we see that are increasingly pervasive and not so noticeable when it was 2G and 3G. By the time I got to 4G, the levels of insomnia were such that the Center for Disease Control has admitted that insomnia is a national epidemic. But because they take so much private money from 400 corporations, they explicitly are not allowed to implicate any product. But we've seen the correlation of, as the amount of radio frequency is in the environment from a plethora of different products, and Wi-Fi being in almost all buildings, we've seen the correlation of that to insomnia almost 1-to-1, just perfectly so. And of course, with insomnia, then you're inviting so many different possible diseases and chronic illnesses. First, I want to apologize to you guys that we're going through all this, because I really am befuddled as to why, since this identical product was reviewed in 2019 by the PRC, by the previous PRC, and it was rejected because of health and safety concerns that violated the bylaws of PRC. And now we're back here, doing it exclusively for cost benefit. And I'm thrilled that you are listening and everyone is speaking of the health and safety issues, because when we talk about cost benefit, they're paramount. People are talking about, the value of doing opt-out. Well, if you follow the work of Dr. Sam Millam, who has been tracking this for many, many years, he finds the opt-outs really are not significant, because if you have, for example, 2 people opting out in a highly concentrated neighborhood of 75 homes, and every other house has an antenna on it, people are getting sick anyway, regardless of whether they have a smart meter or not. And you could have a smart meter, and then the other thing being, if they're within 20 feet of each other, obviously, if a smart meter is on your own garage away from your master bedroom, well, chances are you're next to the smart meter in the adjoining garage in the adjoining house. This whole opt-out issue is really, really sad, conciliation to doing this. why we're here for the audience and for those who don't know, the EPA did research on electromagnetic radiation from 1970 to 1985 with 30 scientists. They spent 8 years trying to get proposed regulations on this through Congress and were unable to do so. And at the end of that, add insult to injury, then the EPA was removed from the regulatory process. And the FCC only considers heat itself, the heat generated, as being the only pollutant, which is painfully just so inaccurate.
Could you please conclude your comments?
I'm sorry?
Please conclude.
Okay, I'm sorry. And then, I have so much. American Academy of Pediatrics has come out over and over again against the use of all these kind of devices. Electrical engineer Bill Bathgate in Michigan in 2018 testified and proved that both electric smart meters and smart meters were widely inaccurate.
Yeah, I guess just reminder that, you know, we've got a lot of people here, so
Yeah,
trying
no,
to be
okay. No, I'm
accommodate
sorry.
to all of them. And then this isn't your only opportunity
Okay.
to give public comment. You can also, if you've got a lot more you want to say, you can type it up and send it in.
We have hundreds of pages, and but I've already sent you summary letters and a summary email, all of you, because I know you guys are very busy, and I really appreciate what you're trying to do. This is very complicated, but things have gotten with 5G now. We've gotten to the point of danger. If you walk just in the mountains in front here, you notice that all the animals are gone. They're all hiding behind the mountain. They can't take the radiation anymore. When I'm up there, I get tinnitus as soon as I look at, there's 47 cell towers in town. So in addition to the smart meter proposal would be a disaster.
Thank you for your comment. I don't know when last is, so I guess I don't understand the next to last. We've got a lot of people virtual. Yeah, you can. You might be here a long time. Just okay. Thank you.
I'm bringing you dinner.
Okay, so I think, Mackley, that was the list of folks in person. Patrick, it sounds like we were given the opportunity for everybody who was in person, except for one that won't tell, I guess, next to last. So Patrick, if you could give us the next 10 on Zoom, and then after that, I'm going to propose that we take about a 10-minute break.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Have Adair Selden, go ahead.
Hi, I live in Santa Fe. I've been here 5 years. I developed electrosensitivity living in Los Angeles 6 years ago. My life became a living hell. And just from, I don't think they're considering the price on human health as far as cost benefit. Everybody has really basically said my point, because obviously I oppose this, but there are many more people that are sensitive to these frequencies than, are acknowledged. And there are a lot of environmental doctors that are seeing more and more of these sensitivities with all these overlaying of different frequencies, the 4G, the 5G, just smart meters is just going to knock some people off the cliff, basically, on their house. I don't know what I would do. I spent a whole year with my EMF meter finding this house. And, there aren't that many places to go anymore in the world. It's saturated. So, I just want to say that it's not just about me. This is about everybody. And PNM, there's a human cost in this equation. It can't be all about your profits at the expense of humans, animals, and the environment. We've talked about this, but just the constant pulsing of these meters 24/7 affects nervous system, causing anxiety, tremors, headaches, tinnitus, heart palpitations, insomnia, and sleep disturbances. A lot of people are experiencing these symptoms. They don't even know it's from their smart meter.
So, you know, please don't dismiss this as a problem for a few canaries. The canaries are the wise ones. It's becoming a real prevalent issue. A couple of years ago, I met a woman here in Santa Fe who she acquired a disabling case of tinnitus from a bank of smart meters that were on her apartment wall. Her life was basically destroyed. She never got her health back. In addition to the physical cost, the medical costs broke her, and the medical costs will continue to grow for the whole state as people develop new health problems from these meters. I also I saw something someone wrote on Facebook. She says, my health has taken a sharp nosedive since the forced installation of a panel of smart meters on my father's townhome a month ago. I have not been able to get a decent night's sleep since. I'm really worried about the future. I can barely function. I feel like a zombie. So my question is, why should taxpayers spend $300 million to have smart meters? There's no benefit to the consumer. They emit toxic levels of pulsed radio frequency radiation. They're a fire hazard. They're vulnerable to hacking, and they enable companies to sell private data to third parties. And to mandate these meters, I find it unacceptable. Where there is risk, there must be choice. And if there is going to be, if they will be mandated, we must have an opt-out option, and it should be free. I don't see why people should be forced to pay a lot of money for something that they didn't want in the first place. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your comment.
Okay, Doug Bailey, go ahead.
Thank you. I am very much opposed to this push by PNM to modernize with electromagnetic systems that are more harmful to the public than the meter can be for just its operation. We must, this time being the third time, tell PNM no, that they cannot use smart meters in Albuquerque or in New Mexico. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Sylvia Graham, go ahead. Sylvia, go ahead and unmute.
I'm Sylvia Graham. I live in Gila, New Mexico, the southwest part of the state. And I want to add something. I have a lot of repetition I could do, but I'm just gonna, what I would like to add is that I left the state of Michigan because my medical doctor had a thriving practice, and he's the one that educated me. His practice was only those who had been harmed by electromagnetics, and they were of all ages. He had 20-somethings all the way to retirees that he was treating. He did not allow a smart meter on his place or a cell phone in his office. And so on his advice, I had my condo tested and found out that as I've been having a number of health problems that he was helping me diagnose. And so I left Michigan for that reason. Michigan had an opt-out, but what they did was, and an opt-out is ineffective. I've lived through an opt-out, and it does not take into account people who live in condos and apartment buildings and various places, as the gentleman said earlier, that you can't get away from the radiation. I came to New Mexico. One of the main reasons was to get away from that. And I came to this part of New Mexico because I can. And my sister joined me because she was having radiation burns and significant health problems, also diagnosed.
Yeah, he asked you to get off of Zoom. But if you get on Zoom, he'll call you.
Okay.
Okay?
Mr. Keiko, can you please mute yourself and maybe remove yourself from Zoom because you've already spoken? Ms. Graham, could you please continue? Apologize for the interruption.
That's okay. And so I have personal experience in another state. I will also say that a number of European countries, including Germany, who we know is technologically very advanced, have decided not to proceed. And they have legitimate concerns about why in terms of the health and safety of their citizens. So I wanted to bring that forward as well. I didn't hear anyone else speaking about other Western, sophisticated technologically countries. So anyway, that is what I have to say, and I appreciate that you have given us this opportunity, because other states did not. They just put it in without public comment at all. And you at least had the public comment. Because as we know, most of our utilities, including this one, are for profit. They're on the New York Stock Exchange. And their cost benefit analyses, because I was in the business world for 36 years, cost benefit analyses only take a very narrow view of what it is. They take the dollars and then they create the cost benefit analysis without a broader view of the impact it has on people's lives. So thank you again. And I ask that you defeat this once again. I don't know. I think I will move. I have to find a place that doesn't allow them, and that's where I will go. If you move forward on this, and I know a number of other people who feel the same.
Thank you for your comment.
Next, Shauna Spring, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me? Did I unmute?
Yes, Shauna.
Oh, good. Thank you for taking comments. And I am one of those EMF sensitive people. I was almost killed by EMF 7 years ago. I'm still in recovery. And this was from a modem that was malfunctioning and replaced. And the technician turned on Wi-Fi without telling me. Within 9 months, I had aged 10 years. I was senile. And the good thing about senility is you can't remember from one day to the next that you really wanted to kill yourself because you were in such pain. I had to see chiropractors every week. Currently, I'm seeing acupuncturists. My eyes, I'm because of that Wi-Fi, it destroyed my vision, it destroyed my hearing. And like I said, I'd wake up in the morning, I couldn't walk. And this is what everybody has to look forward to. There are canaries in the coal mine. I am one of those, but everybody, every human being will become sensitive given enough radiation or dead. So I am saying, what does PNM, how are they going to compensate when I have future health problems that are exacerbated even more so because of someone putting a smart meter on my house? What in their cost benefits analysis did they mention how they're going to have to pay for the health that's people are deprived of? And also, how about the houses that are burning down? In their cost analysis, did they mention how they're going to compensate people for these fires that apparently do occur? And obviously, it seems like the price is going to go up. There may or may not be an opt-out. And why can't I just keep my old analog meter? It's been functioning well for all these years. It's perfectly fine. It doesn't destroy my house by fire, and it doesn't irradiate me. I would be so happy just to maintain status quo. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Kathleen Burke, go ahead.
Thank you and good day, Mr. Chairman. I am Kathleen Burke, a resident of Albuquerque. Gentlemen, I regret that there are not women on New Mexico's PRC. women, the bearers of babies, who are by nature prone to protecting our children. That is no offense to you, gentlemen, and I appreciate your due diligence. I urge this commission to reject PNM's so-called cost-benefit analysis, primarily for the glaring failure, which is that harms to you, commissioners, your families, your pets, and your fellow human beings, commissioners, are not addressed in this deficient and shoddy cost-benefit analysis. Nor are the harms to all of nature, including the sickening harms to your pets and mine and the plants, which for now do and should be flourishing around us and which provide the food from nature upon which we rely. PNM has circumvented the enormous issues of health and safety by convincing this hearing officer to conduct this hearing exclusively for cost benefit. But how do we even consider cost benefit when with this product, smart meters, which are by no means smart, when it already has failed the health and safety evaluation 5 years ago with no substantive change in the technology for the current product under review? Health and safety requirements, gentlemen, are explicitly included in the bylaws of this body, the PRC. Commissioners, gentlemen, how many times will the residents of New Mexico be required to organize to stop this murderous proposition? We have defeated it twice in this body, and we have defeated it at the legislature in 2023 at the people's legislature, via the defeat of the grid modernization plan. How about we stop this risky political charade today and end this greedy and murderous proposal of PNM's? I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for your comment.
Okay, will the individual on Zoom with the phone number again 505-988 please identify yourself and proceed with your comment? Again, the individual with the on Zoom with the phone number begins 505-988. Please identify yourself and proceed with your comment.
Shy person.
Mr. Chair, that was the last person on Zoom.
Okay, so that's the last person registered on Zoom, and then we have a few. Okay, we have a few more folks who've showed up in person. How long is the list, Michael? 3 more. Okay, so let's go ahead and take the 3 folks who are here in person next, and then make an assessment at that point.
So the next 3 people are Paula McLean, then it'll be Isabel Boldozor, then Deborah H.
This is being streamed on YouTube, and so the people who are watching on YouTube won't be able to hear you without the microphone.
Turn me into a movie star.
You had no idea you were getting into that.
Glad I had to
See yourself.
Oh. My name is Paula McLean, and I'm a resident of Santa Fe, and actually my family goes back 105 years. I had an interesting thing happen to me when I was selling my Santa Fe condo. A lady in Silver City, New Mexico was interested, but she was not in Santa Fe. So she asked the realtor to come to the condo and photo the meters on the side of the condo. The short story is the prospective buyer was not going to buy it if it had smart meters. So in the future, once everyone is well informed of the horrible effects of smart meters, either the meter will need to be converted back to the analog or no real estate sale. Is this in your cost benefit analysis? Resale will eventually, real estate will eventually depreciate. I travel to North Carolina a lot. I've spent over 4 weeks there in the last 2 years. North Carolina has smart meters on every vertical wall. When I go, I have learned now to book a room as far away as the inn or hotel can give me from smart meters. I have tinnitus, and when I am in a room that is affected by smart meters, it is so loud and annoying that I can get no sleep. So I have to request to be as far away from those meters as I can. I think eventually this may affect the hotel and travel industry as people catch on that they can request rooms in other parts of the hotel. I lived in Colorado for years, and we were in a rural area where there were no meter readers, but we were sent a postcard every month to fill out what our meters said and mail it back to them. And that's a simple 2-cent suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners,
Yeah.
it's nice to meet you.
Could you
I-
please state your name also?
Maybe I have a question before we start. I do have a few questions. Would you be willing to answer those, 3 of which are simple yes and no's?
I can't offer that. We're in the middle of a legal process and can't disturb that by interacting on the facts of the case at this point.
Will there be another opportunity to ask these questions on the record?
This is the public comment session, so it is not
You won't answer
collection of
questions.
record. We're judges, so it's not our situation to be answering questions at this point in the process. I would encourage you to reach out to people who have intervened in the process, and the hearing starts on Tuesday.
Okay, have to process that.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes,
You may ask your questions in like a rhetorical sense without receiving any answers on them, if you wish.
Yeah, that's a good point. You're allowed to say whatever you want to say, just don't expect a response from us because of where we're at in this process.
understood. Thank you. I think I could keep it to 5 minutes with your cooperation. Would that be acceptable?
No, because I've already limited plenty of people to 3 minutes, so it would not be fair to them.
Well, not necessarily. This is my first opportunity to stand in front of you in person, and
Yeah.
I don't think 5 minutes is excessive.
I understand that. I'm trying to be fair to absolutely everybody who's come into this room today. And this is not your only opportunity to give public comment. If you have developed a extensive amount of information you'd like us to see,
2 more minutes.
then you can submit it via email. You can mail it to us.
I'm electromagnetically overexposed, so any handling of my devices is really making me feel very unwell. I have
Well,
provided-
another option is if you've got it written down, you can leave it here and we will handle the electronic scanning and loading it in.
That sounds fair enough. Thank you.
So-
I still wonder about the record part. So, okay.
So can we start with you stating your name?
Sure. My name is Isabel. I stand here today in defense of the people living in New Mexico, its visitors. I'm standing here in defense of nature and all its myriad creatures. I stand here today to lend voice to the voiceless and to the ignorant. And I stand here today to guard all of our future. No less, I stand here today in self-defense. The redress of grievances demanded today arise out of the egregious impositions this government body, the PRC, has been in process jamming down our throats, which, as the body of science finding evidence that radiofrequency radiation is harmful to life, even at very low levels, will, without any doubt, I repeat, will, without any doubt, bring about physical, cellular harm for any living being's biology. This government body acting, who has repeatedly not afforded us and violated due process, is in the process of continuing a procedure that willfully is geared toward willfully exposing hundreds of thousands of New Mexicans physically and physiologically impactful emissions. All attempts for redress so far, as far as I know, have been ignored by you. So I second the testimony, your belief and best opinion of all of you who have spoken before me, except for a gentleman from RIA who sat here and left. So I ask you, gentlemen, what is the cost of the rise in diabetes, cardiovascular illness, neurodegenerative disease? I'm going to shorten this right now. The list of health issues, complicated health issues, is very long. So I'm going to abbreviate that. I'm just going to second it for everything that we've heard already in more complete lists. I believe the notion to exclude evidence of harm to health, to exclude health, in theory alone, is absurd. And practically in real life, to proceed with an official proceeding and not allow that evidence, in my opinion, frankly, is criminal. If this proceeding ends up accepting PNM's application. I'm standing here in defense of every New Mexican who will be trespassed upon their bodies, within their bodies, cellularly, harmed and afflicted, as well as every living biological creature. And I will not allow that you continue this sham proceeding.
Okay, thank you for your comment.
This is not a comment.
If you would
I
like
am
to
here
leave.
to command. I'm invoking universal law and jurisdiction, and I am here to command you commissioners to adhere to the principles of no harm. You are either to do a proper proceeding and admit all evidence, including all evidence to health, or you are to dismiss PNM's application. I will not leave. I don't mean to create a disturbance, but I'm asking you to do the right things. The right thing. You must do the right thing. I apologize for any inconvenience, but the physical integrity of
This isn't
hundreds
an
of thousands.
inconvenience, it's rudeness to
Is-
everybody who
No, it's
has
not.
provided their
I'm
comment
very
and who have
happy for
respected
any more
this
comments.
process
No,
up
I'm
till
just
now.
calling you to justice because you're in violation of due process. Our backs are against the wall. The judiciary is captured. The FCC is captured. We have no way to turn, and you are excluding vital, critical evidence. Our health and well-being is at stake, and so is that of the environment with all its creatures, that we can expect substantial degradation to occur. We can't allow this to happen.
Quite sure what you're
I'm-
hoping to accomplish here.
I'm demanding, again, I already stated it.
Okay, so if
I-
you have made your statement, I would
I'm
ask you to
demanding
please
that you
conclude your remarks.
I'm
If you would
concluding.
like us to scan in your written, we certainly
I
will
will
and
have to
add it
rewrite
to
that
the
so
record
it's
of the
still
case.
legible.
But at this point, you're being extremely rude to everybody who has
I'm
respected
just
what
put-
this process is. I know you don't like what this process is, but if you want our decision to stick, we have to follow by some rules. So if you're
Exactly. I
encouraging
adhere to
a
those
decision
rules.
and then we break the rules to do the thing you're asking us to do, it will not stick.
You have
So
violated
you've
the
got
rules
some
numerous times.
consequences
on
that
the
are
record.
associated with your behavior here today.
Fine, I'll be happy to make room for any additional commenter. I want to hear from you that you're including all evidence to help and make a proper proceeding instead of the sham one. Or deny PNM's application today. That's what I'm asking to do in defense of hundreds of thousands, if not millions, if not myriads, if you're considering plants and animals.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you, sir.
Do we have one more signed up? Yes, I think we got one each. I would ask that you stand aside so the next commenter may have the same access you had.
My name's Deborah Holfelds. I moved to Santa Fe in 2008. I was fortunate enough to be able to buy a home here. I've been trying for some years to save up and to work getting solar panels on my home. My concern is that I haven't received an install date yet, and things seem to be stalling a lot in the applications of getting solar panels. My concern is I have a loan taken out on these panels, and how is this process going to affect the use of those panels if I don't want to smart meter and I read that it needs a smart meter to send the extra electricity back to the grid. So people with solar panels who spent money are still paying on it. How will they be affected with this process? And will there be alternatives offered for those? So that's the reason I wanted to speak.
Great, thank you. Thank you for your comment. Okay, so we've been through the list of everybody who has registered for public comment so far. I'm gonna propose we take a 10-minute recess to see if anybody else comes in, wants to provide a comment. So we're in recess until, let's say, 3:55.
How many minutes is that? 15.
It has to be from the morning.
Hey, can anybody hear me there? Hello?
Okay, so our recess is over. We're back. There are two people that have registered on Zoom and we're waiting to hear if they're going to provide comment. We have one more person who signed up. Ma'am, I inform you that you are disrupting a public meeting. And so I would ask that you sit. You're welcome to stay, listen to what everybody else has to say. Everybody else has listened to you. So I think that's the right thing to do. So I encourage you.
Sit for the moment. And then I await your proper action to preserve health and life.
So, okay, you have told us that you will respect the meeting for the moment. I appreciate that. And so we will take.
And health matters more than the meeting. And I'm actually not disrupting. So I'm standing aside here. I'm just wanting to hear that you don't threaten to harm the health of millions.
You're disrupting everybody else's opportunity to provide comment.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Carl, would you go ahead and provide your comment? Also, please state your full name. Carl, go ahead with your comment.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Carl, go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, can you state your full name, please, and proceed with your comment?
Oh, my name is Carl Livergood, Livergood. I'm sorry I wasn't quite ready. I thought there'd be more people at this meeting. I had a couple of comments. One, I don't understand why you have them at 2 to 5 p.m. It's really hard for like regular working people to get here. I had to go through a bunch of things to get off early enough to get on this meeting. The whole health thing, I hope somebody else covered it. I know there's others we're planning on, and I think that is a very valid thing that is totally overlooked in this cost-benefit analysis. I think the cost-benefit analysis the report is flawed because the tables, they don't make sense. And I graduated from an Ivy League school. I'm not stupid, but I didn't understand most of those tables. I didn't see they had a number for what they said was this number for cost benefit analysis, but I didn't see a cost related to benefit or how they derived these costs or benefits for that matter. So I'm looking at my notes. One of the time of use meters. I have a time of use meter right now that doesn't require a smart meter. And as far as making it better for customers to understand better, it's ridiculous because not a single, I've contacted customer service probably 10 times. Not a single person has been able to answer my questions or knows how to read these meters. I eventually figured most of it out myself, but even the meter readers don't know how to read these meters because they just plug a thing in there and it automatically downloads it into their device or whatever. So I don't see how this is going to make informed customers any better. Even if it did, I don't see how that would equate to savings in electricity. But how is a smart meter going to inform people about their energy use in a real manner? I mean, and then I was wondering, do they have any studies to back any of this up? Like they've installed smart meters in other cities. Do they have a research showing that installing these has produced any of the benefits they claim? Not that I've heard of. And I think some of the benefits they claimed are without merit or without research. Can you guys just let me know that you can actually hear me? Because I can't tell. I'm not getting any video really either here. I'm trying to do it on my computer and the desktop. Are you still there?
Yeah, we can
Okay.
hear you, and I appreciate your comment. We've been limiting folks to 3 minutes, so thank you for your comment. And then
Oh, my
Mr.
time's already up?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I apologize. I have a lot more to say though, so if you ever, you guys do accept written comments? Do you actually
Yes.
read them? Really?
Yes.
I'll try to write you some then, because I think this is way more, I think maybe P&M might benefit, but I don't see any benefit for the customers, and then we're going to be the ones that have to pay for it. So that's my final thing. And then the whole health thing, I think they should do some research, can they prove that these meters are not harmful? Have they done any? Have they even tried? And that's all I have to say, I guess. I have a lot more, but I'll let you go. I'll be listening now. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Rodriguez, I think we had at least one other person who had registered on Zoom.
Yes, Mr. Chair. On Zoom, the individual with the phone number that begins with 505-988. Would you please unmute and state your name and then proceed with your comment? Again, the individual on Zoom with the phone number begins 505-988. Would you please state your name and proceed with your comment? Mr. Chair, that is the last person signed up for Zoom.
Great, thank you. And Mac Lee, I thought, do we have one other person here?
My name is Shireen Noon, and I live in Santa Fe. I went on the website today and I hadn't seen what the PRC mission statement was, so I'm just going to read that first. Mission statement and what we do. The Public Regulation Commission serves New Mexico by ensuring safe operations and reliable utility services at fair, just, and reasonable rates consistent with the state's legal, economic, environmental, and social policies. The vision. The Public Regulation Commission will be nationally recognized for its culture of excellence, innovation, and forward-looking policies that advance New Mexico's regulatory, energy, and environmental goals. Values and principles. Public service. We serve the public interest by working to improve New Mexico. We are good stewards of the public resources and confidence entrusted to us. Integrity and impartiality. We apply independent judgment and we base each decision on its merits. We are fair, honest, and transparent. And we follow through on our commitments. Openness and inclusivity. We respect and support each other and value the contributions of each person. We listen to the point of view of all who engage with us. Excellence. We consistently put forth our personal and professional best. We constantly seek to improve our work. And your strategic goals are, that you already know, are number one, create a mission-driven agency with a culture of teamwork and excellence. Number two, optimize internal operations, processes, and time management. Number three, provide leadership in regulation through implementing legislation and state policies, working with the industry and public to be a resource for the state. Number four, demystify the regulatory processes, roles, and achievements of the PRC regarding utility services, telecommunications, and pipeline safety. So I'm requesting to please reject PNM's cost-benefit analysis because it does not analyze the cost to health or the environment. So here are the questions. As part of its cost-benefit analysis, did PNM analyze the costs of this radiation to the public health? Did PNM calculate the increase in diabetes, heart attacks, strokes, cancer, and birth defects expected to be caused by this radiation in its service areas? Did PNM calculate the increase in multiple sclerosis, Alzheimer's, autism, ADHD, sleep disorders, depression, anxiety, and suicides expected to be caused by this radiation in its service areas? Did PNM analyze the effects of this radiation on human fertility and calculate the costs of the consequent increases in artificial insemination and in vitro fertilization? Did PNM calculate the monetary costs of these and other health effects of this radiation to individuals and businesses, including doctors' visits, hospitalizations, surgeries, and increased spending on medications? Did PNM analyze the effects of this radiation on plants, animals, insects, and birds, and the costs of this radiation to the natural environment of New Mexico? Did PNM analyze the effects of this radiation on honeybees and other pollinators, and the cost of this radiation in terms of crop production? Did PNM analyze the effects of this radiation on farm animals and the cost of this radiation in terms of the production of milk, meat, and eggs? PNM refused to answer these questions, claiming that they are not relevant to these proceedings. I believe they are the most relevant questions to any decisions made. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that concludes. That concludes everyone who has joined us in person or has signed up to appear in this public comment session on Zoom. We've noticed the meeting would be open till 5, so I don't want to preclude the opportunity for that. So what I'm going to do is just go back into recess, and then if somebody else shows up, we'll come out of recess and allow for that public comment. But for the moment, I would say we're in recess now, and I will, if nobody else shows up, then you'll see me again at 4:45, just concluding this hearing. If somebody else does show up, then we will be sure to collect that public comment. So, thank you all.
Some of us had already commented. Can we comment again?
I'm sorry, but we've had some issues today with folks being not following the guidelines. I've already cut some folks off to try to respect the time of everybody, and they've left. So I feel like it's unfair to come back and let second bite at the apple in this session. But like I say, this isn't the only channel through which you can provide public comment.
I understand it, but I wasn't the one that didn't respect the time limit. And also,
and I'm talking about stuff that happened an hour or more ago, not recent events. So if I would encourage you to send us a letter, send us an email. You can, if you're in Santa Fe, drop it off in the office and we will scan in whatever you drop off. So anyway, I'm sorry, sir. I know you have more to say, and I encourage you to provide it through another means.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I know words like you agree with right. It's in the spirit of. No, I oh, thank you. I don't want you to think that.
I appreciate the opportunity. I was just wondering, does it help for me to send that I had? It was a little bit one that I encouraged really yourself to send it in writing or either not.
Did you hear all commenters today?
Recess, go forward. Answers, yes.
I await your response to protect New Mexicans and the creatures of nature from your reckless proceeding, which is violating your own rules.
I don't know. Well, the truth is, I mean. Okay, so we're back from recess. I've checked with Mr. Curol and we don't have anyone else here in person. Mr. Rodriguez, is there anybody else on Zoom?
No, Mr. Chair.
Then with that, this public comment session is adjourned. Thank you.